Welcome to Post Doom, regenerative conversations exploring overshoot grief, grounding, and gratitude. I'm your host, Michael Dowd. This is a conversation with Karen Perry, who I met in one of our post doom, no gloom discussions that we have twice a week. She'll now be leading a women's circle. And she got us started in this whole field of benefits. What are the benefits, not just of collapse awareness, but collapse acceptance? And this is the 80th conversation in this series that's been going on 2.5 years now. And it's a perfect coming around to really the beginning, because Paul Czafurka, where he talks about finding the gift on the other side of the Kubler-Ross stages of grief. After acceptance, what does it mean to find the gift? What are the gifts? And that's what this conversation is all about with Karen Perry. It's about the benefits of not just collapse awareness, but collapse acceptance, of collapse trusting.
Awesome. Yeah, I love your openness to have this conversation, because it feels like a piece of the whole situation to me that could use some more exploration.
I'm totally down on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been struggling with this benefits of collapse accepted. It's beyond aware. And I'm trying to actually think of the like what are we? Like those of us who we're not gloomy, we're not doomy. I don't like the doom term. It's not what I feel like I am. I'm just a very grounded and in this acceptance.
Well, you just put your finger on something that I think is really key. And for some reason, it's just a slight word shift, but man, does it make a difference. Because yeah, I mean, for the last several years, I've been living my life in the realm of what I call post-doom. Unfortunately, you can't get to post-doom without going through doom, but you don't hang out in doom, you get to post-doom, which is really, it's not collapse aware. It is that, but it's collapse accepting. That's the difference, because a collapse aware, I can be aware and terrified. I can be aware and pissed. I can be aware and all kinds of things, but aware and accepting aware, it's like, oh, it's inevitable. It's certain this is happening. And then what are the benefits in my life and in my relationships based on that? So I think that's just the way you just language that's key. It's not just the benefits of collapse awareness, it's benefits of collapse acceptance.
Yeah, because we're not, doomers. Like,
right.
That's not it. It's something else.
So give me your thoughts. I'll probably be taking some notes, but also I'm recording this. So
yeah, so what I've done is I've written basically concepts, and then I have examples of these concepts
right.
that kind of make sense to me, but obviously everybody in their own acceptance of this is going to have other examples. For me, this feels like something to offer to help people expand the understanding and the acceptance and finding that place of balance and because to me it's all about, okay, sure, you can look at all these stats and studies and calamities that are happening and you can talk about them over and over again, but eventually you get to that place of, okay, so now what?
Right.
So what do I do with this information? And as somebody who's been trying to share this information like you have, and we've been trying to do this for over a decade now, that's been a wall we've kind of run up against. It's like, you can give this amazing presentation of all of it, and but yet if there's not that, like, okay, and what do I do now?
Right.
So this is really, I love this conversation because it's really helping, I think, advance that concept of what do I do now, and freeing you from thinking you have to live being miserable all the time.
Well, no, that's exactly it. I mean, people so often think that they're just going to wallow in despair and anguish and grief and pain. And I think that one of the things that keeps more people from fully looking at collapse and coming to acceptance is because nobody's fucking articulating the benefits. Nobody's articulating that.
Right. Yeah. And so when you spin the cube and you look at it in this whole new way, I know you love the Don't Look Up film, and we watched it for the second time the other night. Like one of the concepts to me that was so clear was the people who spent their, what I call global hospice time, their like, awareness of this impending situation. They spent it either completely denying it or working their ass off to fight it, which I was also like, is that really where you want to spend your time?
Right.
Or there were a few of them who were like, hey, you want to have sex? Let's go do that. Like, that looks like a fun thing to do. And that's the group of people that I most closely align with. I actually I wrote this at the end of my list, but I'll share it with you now because it feels like it fits. And I'm still working this all out. So maybe you can help me with this concept, but I'll just read it how I wrote it. We owe it to all the sacrifices the planet has made on our behalf to at least enjoy the time we have left, to be loving and kind and joyful, not curmudgeon-y worrywarts, whining and complaining. We have so much and have been given and taken so much that the least we can do is enjoy it and put goodness back into the collective coherence.
That's really, really well said. That's great. I want to read you something I just encountered this morning on Reddit Collapse. How changing my mindset from wildly hopeless to wildly grateful has helped me cope with collapse. I am one person, one single human. I alone cannot fix all the problems leading to collapse, and I don't see a group organizing to do whatever it takes to prevent collapse from happening either, even if it were possible. I have pivoted from feeling wildly hopeless to wildly grateful. The first half of my life has been spent enjoying the comforts of Western life, something I've taken for granted until just recently. Accepting collapse also includes realizing how special those modern day comforts really are. Safe running water, reliable electricity, comfortable furniture, Western medicine, kitchen appliances, washer dryer, a car, internet access 24/7, food still in the grocery store, trash pickup, soft linens, pillows, soft pillows, all of it. The majority of human beings that have ever lived on this planet did not have all those luxuries at their disposal. Accepting collapse meant accepting that a lot of those comforts will go away in the future, perhaps the near future. I have zero control over that. I can't force corporations or governments to operate in ways that will not kill humanity. Besides, was us having all that bullshit sustainable anyways? Obviously not, because we're actively watching collapse happen. It's taken the exploitation and suffering of countless human beings, mostly POC, I don't know what that is, POC, I don't know, and underdeveloped countries. Oh, people of color. Yeah, mostly people of color in underdeveloped countries and the earth itself to make it possible. Instead of feeling hopeless, I'm working now on feeling grateful that I won the where I was born lottery and have enjoyed the level of comfort that I have. Most human beings that have ever lived throughout all of human history couldn't imagine the state of luxury and convenience that I've been living my entire life. So I feel grateful because I know one day it will drastically change and I won't have the same level of comfort anymore, and that could be soon. Also, daily meditation practice for me is crucial. Edit. So he wrote this after he had written that. I'm so grateful that this has brought so many people a little bit of joy. I've really been struggling with a dark depression after becoming collapse aware. I've realized that I'm useless to myself, my family, and friends, and society in that state of mind. Suffering from depression about collapse keeps me from being actually able to do anything about it, even if just locally. If this can help even one person create a light at the end of the tunnel for themselves, then it was worth the hate. I knew I'd get by sharing it in this sub. He shared it on Reddit Collapse, but he didn't get any hate. He got gazillions of positive comments. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I could have pretty much written that whole thing.
exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. In fact, on my list, well, we can just do the list, but
yeah, go for it.
So we'll get to gratitude because it's on my list.
Right.
So yeah, number one benefit of being of collapse acceptance. Benefits of collapse acceptance. Number one I have written is freedom.
Yep.
The freedom to let go of things you think you need to do or you should do. It opens many doors while shutting others, and others that you might want to just be happy to say good riddance to those doors. So an example could be, you don't have to work so hard to build that retirement account.
That's exactly.
There's huge freedom in that.
Yes, exactly.
You could choose to live how and where you want to if you have the ability to do that.
Yes.
If you have more freedom, you don't have to build that castle that you think you have to build.
No, but I like that, and I like the freedom, and then freedom from and freedom to.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So number two is more urgency to plans, for example. It's like urgency is number two as a benefit.
Yep.
Example, take that trip, quit that job, learn that new thing, have that baby, get married, get divorced, sell that house, buy that house. We're always like, well, maybe I should wait and take my time. And it's like, no, you get to add the benefit of urgency. But to me, that's a benefit because I feel like, this whole, I've got 10 years, 20 years.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly.
That off. All right, number three, parameters. It adds new parameters to your decision making, which is kind of like the number two, but I think it's a little bit different. So
yeah.
Here's an example. I have a friend who has a history of cancer in the women in her family, and she's gotten some tests to let her know that when she's in her 50s, she has a 50% chance or more likelihood of having breast cancer or maybe having ovarian cancer. So she's just turned 40 and she's considering having this elective surgery to have a double mastectomy and to remove her ovaries and her fallopian tubes and everything and put her into instant menopause and all this stuff. And so I kind of said to her, well, how does collapse thinking fit into that? Like, maybe you won't even make it to 50. So maybe that puts a whole different parameter on a decision like that.
Yes. No,
having a baby or not having a baby. Maybe you're like, on the fence, and having this collapse acceptance gives you much different parameters with which to play in.
Yes. Excellent.
And then something as simple as like, should I eat that donut? And you're like, yes, you know what? I'm gonna have that donut. Dang it.
That's
So,
great. Yeah, yeah.
number 4 benefit, present moments. I think collapse acceptance just has an automatic focus on today, on what's right in front of you. And I've found I don't actually even need a daily meditation practice to be present, because my acceptance has me in that state of presence.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I've structured my life now, to live every day like I'm grateful, and I try to live like I'm on vacation and I'm having the time of my life and doing the things that I want to do, and being very present to the creatures around me. And I couldn't have that without understanding truly how collapsy we are.
Yes, 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 exactly.
So that leads into 5, gratitude, which is just exactly what you just read that the guy wrote. You know, it just forces being grateful for all that you have. You can't be in collapse acceptance and just not feel this intense amount of gratitude when you get up every day and you look out and you're like, oh, okay, things are still working. Awesome. I can still go to the grocery store. And yeah, there's gas at the gas stations. Cool. You know, you just
Exactly.
like, you just can't not be grateful. And living from a place of deep gratitude is huge as a pathway to just change your life and just feel better every day.
Yes. Amen.
That's I mean, without collapse acceptance, you know, we would be much better off if everyone was walking around in a true state of gratitude. But
right, but there's something about the imminence of finality, or the imminence of things that you currently have, you won't have in the not too distant future, that allows you to cherish them while they're here.
Right. Yes. And it's like you said, with, you know, a cancer diagnosis, if you really frame everything as if you have been given 6 months or 3 months or a year or whatever, and you're really living with this whole different reality mindset, it completely changes your focus, and with many good benefits.
Yeah, that was my personal experience when I had cancer 12 years ago.
Yeah, so you know firsthand. 6, calmness, grounding, balance is a benefit. When you get to this accepted place, you just find this sense of calm and grounding underneath you. And like here's an example, like world calamities, right? Like things come up, you know, my parents are always like, can you believe XYZ happened? And I'm just like, yawn. Yeah. I
can totally believe. Yeah,
calmly,
exactly.
fully understand it. It doesn't rattle me. I'm not like
Well, that's and that's actually been one of the huge ones for me in understanding and studying for a lot of the last 5-6 years, studying the rise and fall of civilizations and the common patterns on the way down, really has allowed me to open up actually I don't see a newspaper, but you know, the news online or however I find out about what's happening in the world, that could be, if I didn't have this awareness, hair pulling, like, oh my God, how can this be happening? But it's like, yeah, look at that. This is exactly how it typically happens in declining empires and collapsing civilizations. And, you know, I'm more likely to reach for the popcorn than I am pull my hair out.
And I love the benefit of just being able to stay calm.
Yep.
And be the person walking on the deck of the Titanic who's like, I got this.
Exactly. Yes.
So number 7, I wrote community, localism. It just, that collapse acceptance, you can just focus on what is right around you.
Yes.
And how you can affect change right where you are and participate in what's going on, but be released from that feeling of control.
Right.
Like you have to control it or
Yep.
anything else. That's been our experience anyway, as a
Yep.
benefit, because I know that the whole thing is global, and shit is hitting the fan everywhere, and it's not that I don't care, but it's that it doesn't really matter to my life. What
Right.
matters to
Exactly.
my life is the fact that we had a fire in August come practically to our doorstep that everybody is still rattled and dealing with, and we had huge storm damage from this crazy snow event that took out trees on everybody's property. And where Jordan is today is working on a neighbor's property with 2 of our adult sons to help him clean up and deal with this calamity of that's right here in our community. That's where our focus is.
Right.
And so to me, that's a benefit.
I completely agree.
Yeah. And number 8 is release from superhero savior complex. I love this benefit. As somebody who came through the chute through the activism world and got arrested at the White House protesting the Keystone XL pipeline, and got arrested at Chevron refinery in Richmond next to Bill McKibben, and who was at Occupy and have been in the streets raising my fist and doing all that. I'm like, oh, this is a huge benefit. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to save it. I don't have to solve it. And I don't have to fight it.
Yes,
I can
exactly.
let go and be released of the guilt and all that goes along with feeling this like superhero thing we have.
Superhero savior complex. I love it.
Yeah. Number 9 is a heightened connection to the universe and creator and other creatures. It just automatically leads to a thinking beyond yourself and how connected to the all that we are. And you can't not look into another creature's eyes and just see same. And yes, another human, but also another.
Amen.
I got to see a fox here the other day out on our daily walk, and just had this like eye to eye connection. And you can go there, but you can't go there far enough without collapse acceptance. And leads to number 10, which is increased empathy.
Yes.
For others who are suffering with dominant culture, like other humans who are, I'm not saying, collapse aware or accepted, but just, anyone, I mean, like everybody's feeling collapse. Everybody's experiencing collapse. There's most can't articulate it yet and put the finger on that's what it is, but everybody's feeling it. And so I just feel like empathy much more. If someone's like pissed and flips me off on the freeway, I'm just like, oh yeah, collapse sucks, I getcha. You're just you just have so much more empathy. And then of course, like we were just talking about the other creatures, I mean, you're just like, oh, it's so cool that you're just like running around living your life and yay, and yet I also share this like it sucks, like what's happening to you too.
Right, exactly.
And then 11, this one's huge to me because I just feel like and I'll just say it, the liberal progressive crowd, if they could get more connected with this one, it would, to me, it would be game changing. But it's recognizing your privilege.
Yes. Yep.
A huge benefit is recognizing the privilege that you have and then using it if you have it. In other words, if you're sitting on that big giant retirement account, like, why are you still invested in the stock market and haven't like started to pull it out and spread it around in whatever way you can to use it to free yourself, to free your family, to give back to your community? You know, you don't have to hoard it.
Yes.
It's like jumping off the Titanic with, you know, a big 2 suitcases filled with money and gold. It's like, what a waste.
Yes.
Like if you have privilege in the game still, and your collapse accepted, then you can understand, oh, this is what I should be doing with it. Not thinking I have to hoard this, save it for 20, 30, 40, whatever years that won't be here.
Exactly.
And that's, to me, like a critical component for the younger generation, because
yes,
if anybody who has privilege in their family and isn't using it to help out the youngsters, I'm just like, I have no respect for you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yep.
And that's what we're doing with our kids, with the limited privilege that we have. But I shouldn't say limited. That's ridiculous. I mean, we have so much. We purposefully quit our jobs, 10 years ago, quit our jobs, cashed out our retirement funds, put them into the place where we live so that we could not have a mortgage and could just have, shelter without having to worry about anything other than the property taxes and, fixing whatever breaks. But, and, we're not like, we haven't tied our kids to the whipping post to say, go get that job, go get that retirement account, go, we're like, no.
How old are your kids?
So Jordan's 3 are 25, 22, and 17. And my 2 are 23 and 21.
Okay. So
yeah, we dramatically changed our lives in many ways. When we moved here, bought this place, it was, we brought everybody together, all the kids, and tried to do this whole experiment in living differently, a la Guy McPherson's permaculture death trap story, kind of along the line. Tried all that, the chickens, the ducks, the intensive permaculture, and just ran that experiment to its conclusion, and just was like, nope, eject. That's not the ticket. So our current version is this kind of feral, we call it finding feral and rewilding, and this like more wild food forest type concept. And but I felt like first we really had to like strip it all out. We and almost learn like this whole other language to become like much closer to the wild and free creatures that we are, to then be able to be more like able to go in and out of dominant culture. I don't know, we could go on with that.
I get it.
But so okay, number 13 or 12 is making amends.
Making amends, yes.
Yeah. When you're accepting all this, you're like, okay, I've got to do this, make these amends. So giving back to the community of life as one way, I've
Yep.
got what we call the treat stump outside our fence perimeter, where I put all kinds of things for the deer and other creatures that come by, and we feed the birds. And I love what Connie's doing with the trees. After the fire here, I collected tons of acorns on our property and took them out into some of the major burn areas and tossed out all these acorns because I was like, oh, I want to, try to give back
Right.
something.
Exactly.
So making amends, whatever that means to you, whatever
Right.
wrongs you feel you need to right, you know, get ready to kind of die and have your bags packed, ready to go, type of
Yes.
thing.
Yep.
Not like, oh, I can put that off for a long time.
Yes.
13, more comfortable with death.
Yes.
That's a huge benefit that I think everyone can gain wisdom from being more comfortable with death. I know you love Jenkinson and his work, and yeah, he's phenomenal. And I don't know, have you tripped into Caitlyn Doughty?
No.
Oh, she's so good. She has this book called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory.
Wow.
And she's so awesome. And she also has a Ask a Mortician YouTube channel.
Okay.
She's just has this amazing dark humor, and she goes into everything about the death industry and how death phobic this whole culture is, and how we really need to change everything related to that. Her book is fabulous.
Okay.
14, letting go of control to
Yeah.
me is a benefit, and worrying less. And an example to me of that is stopping trying to pass a purity test.
Yes.
So often in the environmental movement, it's and I've gotten caught up in this, like, oh, ethical shopping. Oh, I need, like, I can't buy this because of its packaging, or you just like go down these like ridiculous rabbit holes of like trying to we were energy activists and talking about fossil fuels, and driving our Suburban to go to these protest events. But I was like, none of us chose this system.
Right.
I mean, and there is no purity test to pass. So you just let go of these
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yes.
And just worry less when you're in collapse acceptance.
Yep.
And then 15, I have written as a global hospice time. We've kind of touched on that earlier, but I'm like, just, have more fun. Like, that's a huge benefit of this. Like, you're like, oh, I don't know if I really deserve to have fun, or if I should just, go play or be on act like I'm on vacation. I'm like, yeah, you actually should do that. Like,
yes, exactly.
Like enjoy your time. And again, that feeds into where we started with me saying, if we've created this incredibly disastrous scenario for our planet and all the rest of the creatures, it just seems very disingenuous to then also just be miserable on top of all of it.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, read to me what you started out reading again.
We owe it to all the sacrifices the planet has made on our behalf to at least enjoy the time we have left, to be loving and kind and joyful, not curmudgeony worrywarts, whining and complaining. we have so much and have been given and taken so much. The least we can do is enjoy it, and as a result, put goodness back into the collective coherence.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful.
Additionally, it's just this idea, this concept of you get to live a full and complete life now. This is the
Yes.
other thing I want to mention, because I hear this so much from the whining and the complaining about all of this. Like, oh, this child is only going to get to live to be 7 or 20 or, 30, or I can't go there because I have grandchildren and all of this. And I'm like, no, a complete life is a complete life, whether you're 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 80. There's a completeness to living your full life now, though,
Yes.
not in this like I'm going to do that down the road mode.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know exactly where this fits in, but it's so important to me that I don't know if I could slot this in as a benefit, but it's just something I really want to continue to discuss also, is this normalizing of collapse and collapse language, and moving away from the lying and the dishonesty and the hiding in the shadows and feeling afraid and intimidated to speak up. And that's different from preaching and proselytizing, because I totally get that. Like that's not the thing, but it's not allowing ourselves to be intimidated to the point where we can't speak our truth, and we can't say, if there's an opportunity to just inject into a conversation, well, I don't know that that's really going to work, because we're all in collapse. Or just like in more like matter of fact, not confrontational, not debate oriented, but just it's hard to think of examples, but I think that that's a critical piece, because if more and more people understand that there's benefits and can feel comfortable with it all, then I think the normalizing will just occur naturally.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually feel very strongly about that last one. Well, all of these have been great, but yeah, it's more what this is in service to my mind and heart, and sort of my prophetic side. I want to call out as good people, moral people, amazing people, great people who are unknowingly participating in geological scale evil by ignoring collapse or denying it, because then we don't attend to those few things that we need to do to avoid being evil on a geological time scale. But we also don't live our full lives while we have the time, which is all the things you just outlined.
Yeah, these are all great things to do if the world's not collapsing.
That's exact. But being aware, kind of like being accepting of your own mortality, and that you could die in the next 5 years or the next 2 years or the next 6 months. It makes it all, it brings it all front and center, and makes it much easier to live that way, because you're not likely to just put it off.
Exactly. And so having this knowledge it helps, it just puts everything in a different frame.
Yep.
And I think that's really a good thing. I think it can really lead to a huge quality of life. I am so grateful for my collapse first awareness and then acceptance, because I feel like I'm just living a much freer, more real, more connected to all the creatures around me, more in tune with the privilege that I have, just a less distracted,
Yep.
just so grateful. And it's taken work. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's not an easy shoot to go through.
Right.
And I hear that in our discussion groups a lot, this like projecting onto other people. And I mean, you say this too, like if you feel you're responsible to get somebody closer to this information, then, be prepared for them to be, having a hard time for 6 months or a year or whatever it might take. And I've listened to you say that and I've been like, yeah, okay, I get that. But then I'm like, okay, but each of us in this discussion group got here some way.
No, exactly.
And I would like to think that everybody in the group would say, especially if we had this benefits conversation, would say, yeah, no, I'm actually, happy that I'm here. I'm glad that I have this knowledge. And so I like to think that there's room to see how these benefits could spread to others and make for ultimately a kinder, gentler place. And I think it actually is, interestingly enough, kind of on the shoulders of us who do in fact get it and are accepted with it, because it almost seems disingenuous to have this information and then like just keep hiding with it.
Yeah, my natural inclination has always been to always try to share this perspective, partly because I've intuited much of what you've articulated in these 15 points. Some of them I've even articulated exactly or very similar, but because this has been my experience, is that I wouldn't want, it's kind of like that scene in the Matrix where Neo says, I can't go back or whatever. And Morpheus said, no, but would you really want to? It's like, once you understand this and begin to experience some of these benefits, I'm hugely grateful for that I got here. And so I sometimes, and I appreciate your challenge on this because I agree with you, I sometimes say things as a way of inviting people to be a little less judgmental of their friends for not accepting it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not saying don't share some things and see if they're ready for this. Like, that's why I've created some of these videos, like Collapse in a Nutshell. Is like, use that as a video and see if your friends or family or whatever are open to this. If they are, by God, yeah, here's some other resources. It's just, it's the anger or the bitterness or the frustration that people experience when nobody in their life wants to listen to them. That's what I'm trying to counter or cushion or offer.
A few people could like change their lives because of understanding this information, like for the good. Like,
yeah,
I hear this in the group a lot. Like, people are also like, oh, somebody's going to get more suicidal and they're going to be more drug addicted. And I'm like, or maybe this is going to be the most freeing thing that ever happened to them, to actually
absolutely
put meaning and purpose to their life now.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
People are miserable and drowning and suffering and feeling collapse. And, just because you can't articulate it, and it doesn't mean you're not feeling it and experiencing it. So,
right. Exactly.
So, it could be like there's tons of people that could end up feeling like me, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to worry about building a castle and a retirement account. Yay. I can
yeah, no,
I don't have to be all like pent up if I want to go have some sushi. Oh, have the sushi. Like,
yeah, no, I'm so with you, because that has been, for me, it's been an almost entirely net positive.
The way I see it, I think it's gonna like just hit everybody so fast, so quick. I mean, when we don't have internet anymore, I mean, we're done. We've got like 3 days of food, and it's just like, I, I,
Right.
so that's the other part of it. Like, that's like the letting go, and like the just being like, if you want to go learn some skills of how to, like, grow some food and chop some wood, great, do that. But if you're like super happy with the latest Pokemon game, I don't know, enjoy.
I love your attitude. Thank you. That's a corrective.